Oh, good morning, Sharon, and welcome to another episode of our podcast. How you doing?
Oh, thank you, Wendy. It's awesome to be back. It's actually an unbelievable spring day here today. It's absolutely beautiful. We had a huge frost, and that is always a great sign that it's going to be a brilliant day.
Yeah. We're heading into the warmer months, which is absolutely going to be welcome.
I know.
Yeah.
I love spring. I think spring's one of my favourite months, actually.
Oh, there's so much newness.
There is. I mean, every month for me has a truly significant meaning, and where I live, you get those 4 very defined seasons.
Yeah.
And they all are very significant, but I like the fact that the renewal. I like it's like the winter you've released, you've let go, everything's died off. And then spring, it's all just coming back ready for renewal and amazingness.
I think you don't realise until you get to like our age that, when you're a kid and, it was always, there's, you're having the spring clean, and you don't ever really, like you always just put it down to, okay, that's the time where it's starting to get a bit warm, so we're going to open the doors and we're going to open the windows and not, give the house a good clean. But it's an internal and an external spring clean, really.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
I totally agree with you. It absolutely is.
Yeah. And so today we're going to refer back to our little manual that comes with, if you're doing any work in the Heal Your Life space with the workshops, the Love Yourself, Heal Your Life. It's a workbook that Louise has authored, and it covers off on a lot of topics that help you through the stages of being actually able to, move the needle in your life and to do the things that, do the work, do the spring clean, really. So I mean, yes. It's really important that we're talking about all of this stuff now. I mean, there's not a month or any time of the year that's not right for this, but now is a really good time for us to be talking about it. And today we're going to talk about criticism and judgment. Now let's just go through this checklist that Louise has included. It says, why are there so many bad drivers? People are so stupid. I'm such a jerk. I'd do it if I weren't so fat. Those are the ugliest clothes I've ever seen. They'll never be able to finish the job. I'm such a klutz. The people around here are such slobs. My neighbours are so noisy. Nobody asks me what I think. Can you believe that old car that she drives? I hate his laugh. No, that's one word that I bar in this.
Makes me cringe listening to that, doesn't it? It just,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And if we go back to the DVD, that's the kind of language that's happening in that first 5 minutes of the Heal Your Life DVD. That self-talk that the main character, the woman, she's on her way to work and she's just got this little chatter going on, and then it becomes a comedy of errors. There's so many things that don't go her way, and yet when you start your day in a more positive way and you address this criticism and judgment,
yes,
your day unfolds beautifully in a totally different way. And you know what? It all comes down to a choice. We make the choice. We make the choice to get out of bed and just rush into the day, or we can make the choice to take our time and do some daily habits that are going to set that day up for us to achieve more by doing less. Because
yes,
that's exactly what it is that we get into the hyper energy state, the chaotic energy state, whereas we really want it to be a nice peaceful way that we start our day. And to be able to achieve things, we need to have our full mind, body, spirit.
Absolutely, I totally
all taken care of. So, and I have my daily rituals and you have yours.
Yes.
And it's not, for me, it's not it's not something that was too hard for me. It's not until you have something almost taken away from you that you learn to appreciate it more. And so my first thanks and my first gratitude statement every morning is I am so grateful for the beauty of this day, that I can see the beauty of this day, because I nearly lost my sight. So, and, with the events surrounding my hubby's health, I'm so grateful that he's here, and I'm so grateful for what we, for the life that we live. So they're the kinds of things that you can go from being in that state of fear and anguish and a lack of hope to being in a state of gratitude and loving and be very present in the moment, and that then helps to unfold. So I'm talking about this because it's a way of being able to address exactly this criticism and judgment. But let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting when you talked about rituals. I can't stress enough for people that believe they don't have the time to do it. You actually don't have the time not to do it, is what I would say. And most importantly, and how that actually relates to the criticism and judgment, is that will help rein that in. If you cannot be rude to yourself as well as be nice to yourself at the same time. So why don't you pick being nice to yourself? Why don't you pick those affirmations? Why it stops the criticism and judgment? Because, okay, we judge and criticize others, but the reality is we're doing that because something's coming back at us. And I love the statement you always say, Wendy, and please correct me if it's not quite right. When you point a finger at someone, there's 10 other fingers pointing back at you.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, when you're doing that, there's these 3 here that are pointing back at you.
Yeah. And that's exactly right, because usually there's something being irked in somebody else. It's something that you have a bad habit of yourself. And so if you start your day with, like Wendy said, but I start my day with, I literally lay in bed, I open my eyes and I'm like, I'm just so grateful to be me.
Yeah.
And then it just rattles off from there. And I do gratitude literally throughout the day. I'm doing 100 days of gratitude at the moment. And that is actually, oh my goodness, I cannot believe how much that is assisting with my criticism and my self-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've become pretty good at that now anyway. I literally do. I can look at myself and I can look at you guys and say, I love me. Yeah. I really do. I love who I am. I love my journey. I love where I'm going. And when you actually get to that space, criticism and judgment becomes a lot less visible in your life.
It does. But you know what? We have to really acknowledge that sometimes that criticism and judgment is just a really bloody bad habit.
Totally. Which is why your rituals and your gratitude can actually stop that.
Yeah. Yep. I look back on the eras, and sometimes I used to sort of witness it and think it used to be a bit of a competition as to who was having the shittiest day.
Yes.
Oh, this has gone wrong and that's gone wrong, and oh my God, this is wrong. And there was just all this, instead of saying, you know what, look, I'm having a brilliant day, and I've nailed that and that and that and that, but it's not even about that. It's more about how I feel about my day.
Yeah, totally agree.
And so the criticism and judgment of the self, for a start, is, we can have a look at what's written on the pages and how, we are a blank book, and the pages are written for us, and they're written for us by, first of all, our mum and dad, and then by our immediate family, and then by our extended family. The more, as we grow, the more influence those have on us, and then the school, and then the teachers, and then our workplaces, and then the relationships that we choose as adults or as we progress through. So it really does come down to, there's a lot of stuff there that we may have taken on from other people, but we can't sit and blame. All we can do is recognize that, oh geez, I picked up a really bad habit, and now is the time to change it. It's kind of like sobriety, or giving up, cigarettes, or, whatever it is. If you have a look at a really bad habit that is not good for you, that a lot of people, one of my friends that's, that I've known for a little while now, has decided that this is her. She's just celebrated 12 months of sobriety. So 12 months of giving away even the cool social drinking, having that glass of wine with someone.
Yeah.
And so it was a big thing.
Yeah.
But that's another habit that, and habits are hard to break. We have to acknowledge, and Absolutely. It doesn't just come like you don't say I'm going to give up drinking and then not practice anything and then get 12 months down the track and voila, you're not drinking. It has been a daily, because it was a daily thing with her. And then with socializing, it was like a weekly thing. Yeah. She's had to be on her game every day, every week for 12 months. It's exactly the same as breaking these habits of the self-criticism and the self-judgment, but also the judgment that we have and the criticism that we have of others. Now, everyone's guilty of it. Let's not beat around the bush and
absolutely. I still do it. I'm more mindful about it now. I'm more aware of it now, and I can stop and turn it around much quicker these days.
But there's differences in the criticism and judgment that we're talking about here, because you'll never achieve anything great unless you look at it critically and have it's constructive criticism that you have to have. You have to look back on it. Our businesses wouldn't be where we were if we couldn't look back and say, oh, that wasn't really good, so I need to brush up on that. Or, and that's the fine line, isn't it? I mean, judgment and criticism, there's a valuable part of it in our lives. And it's the same as fight and flight. There's a valuable part of it, but there's another part that's very, very destructive. And it's the destructive part of it that is what we're saying that we need to be really mindful of addressing on a regular basis. And that's not taking the stuff from the past through to the future. And it's up to us. It's up to the individual.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like one of my favourite sayings is flip the coin on it, and as you say, we can't, we progress through life and we change, and I don't really think of looking at our business and judging it. I don't look at it the same way as when I was younger, before I was doing all this work and I was judging somebody else or myself. I look at the business as more about, that's like a growth. To be able to grow, we need to review. But what I used to do when I was young, and every now and then I still do it, and I try and absolutely not do it because I don't like myself when I do it, is I would just and my kids will say to me all the time, come on, Shan, they call me Shan. Come on, Shan, you bloody do that. They will quickly remind me, which is good because it reminds me, oh, actually, it makes me take a step back and go, oh, okay, that's some little old patterns that I've allowed to slip back in there. What's going on there? What am I doing that for? And complaining it nearly fits into that as well, and I know that's off topic, but we can be so self-critical or critical of others, and the impact that it has on our health can be just as terrible as or bad for you, unhealthy for you, whatever you want to call that, as what alcohol can be.
Of course. I think probably worse. I think that the emotional toll on our bodies exacerbates any sort of disease.
Yep.
And I think it's over and above anything physical that we can do. Like, go and break a bone, like, that's bad. But the emotional pain is
the mental
wellness.
Yeah, the mental side of it, the monkey mind, the overthinking, the over-judging, you can get into that state where you're continually smashing yourself, aren't you?
Yeah. And, we talk about criticism and judgment, but it goes hand in hand with, you have a look at the debris of that in a lot of the emotional, the emotions that are attached to that. And one of the most difficult emotions as a coach, that you will ever encounter with a client, just my opinion, but it's worked every time, is rejection.
Yeah.
is when a human being feels rejected.
Yes.
And I'm talking about, there's, you know, I've had clients where as a child they've been rejected. And that is something that is really hard to come back from. Why wasn't I good enough? You know, all of that stuff. And so why wasn't I good enough becomes I am going to criticize myself and judge myself every single bloody day.
Absolutely.
Because I'm always falling short of the mark, when in actual fact, what we do here is just always remind that person that they are enough, that they are worthy, that they are deserving, that they're beautiful just as they are. And so there's some really key points when we're looking at all of this. You know, yes, we need to be able to judge a situation. Is it good or bad to go in, you know, to drive that way? Is it good or bad to enter that building? You know, if there's a fire in, like your judgment says, don't be an idiot, don't go into a burning building.
That's right.
So it's a necessary part of our makeup, and to think that we haven't that we have to alleviate, you know, or wipe it completely because it's not something that we need in our makeup is bullshit. But it's a way in which the context of which we're speaking about it here, and that is that you know, Gabrielle Bernstein wrote a brilliant book which was called Judgment Detox, and it's very good about going through, you know, the full scope of the self, and you know, her take on how to eliminate the judgment from. But even she says in there that you have to have that as part of you living your daily life. You have to judge certain situations for your own personal safety.
Absolutely. You have to. Like, we can't go through life and not judge them. Otherwise, where will we go? And in my eyes, that's a very different type of judgment as well.
Yeah, it is. But when we're looking at a statement where it says criticism and judgment, you know, a lot of people will think, I've got to take judgment completely out. And then that puts them on a spiral where they're always feeling, I haven't got there because I still judge. I haven't got there. It's bullshit. You know, I walked into a function, into an event 2 weeks ago now, and still seeing those same people searching for the elusive. And that is about exactly what I was just saying. That whole, you know, I haven't got there yet. I'm, you know, I still need this. I still need everything that we have, everything that we need to live a peaceful, happy life is in here.
Yes. Yep.
We already have within ourselves absolutely everything that we need. Everything.
I totally agree. Yep.
But we're looking for someone to tell us what's the next thing that we've got to do. What's wrong with me, and have you, I'm broken, or I need to have this fixed. What have you got for me? It's not about that. It's about owning your greatness.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, in the current climate that we're in, things are a bit out of whack and balance. So there really is a lot of judgment out in the universe right now. Like, a lot of people also are looking for other people to blame. Like, you know, what's a really good example? I'm just being really mindful of the situation people are in. I'll use myself as an example. If something doesn't quite go right for me, I can be, and I am getting much better at this, but I'd be a liar if I didn't say that. I then would lash out at somebody else, you know, as in their response that they've actually, you know, that was your fault, when really it was all mine. Where there's a lot of not taking responsibility at the moment. And we're criticizing so much of everything that's going on around us. And that's really a lot of our, as you mentioned earlier, you know, the childhood stuff, being rejected. What was that like? Those unconscious behaviors within us, or hurts that we have, will be triggered by something like that. And so I like the fact that you're aligning it to an addiction, because that's really what it is. It's like an addiction, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is.
And we are the ones that have to take control and get our inner peace back.
Yeah, because we're owning, and it comes down to, you know, something might happen with somebody, and they may make a statement, the person takes offence. That person's moved on, but the person who took offence is living with that every single bloody day. It's like, get away with walking through your mind with muddy boots on. Like, stop, just stop, because it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
But, and what you said about the current climate is that everyone has to take responsibility for their choices.
Yes.
And the choices that have been made by the individual are not up for grabs for other people to make them feel as though they have done the wrong thing for the greater good because they chose what they chose.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, sovereignty, truth, honesty, all of that stuff is going to be what is rising to the top right now. And we're in bloody exciting times. We are in absolutely exciting times. Sad times, because there's a lot of
change
stuff happening that is really quite sad, but on the whole, we're about to embark on something really special, and we've just got to be in our own space in a really good place to be able to see that. Because if we don't see that, then there's some people still are riding the doom and gloom train when we need to pull them back and say, you know what, let's not go there. We need the collective energy, the collective consciousness over here, and we need that to come together and no division. So that we need that whole diminishing this criticism and judgment.
Because ego has a big part of that as well. Ego really plays a very big role in criticism and judgment, and that's where we have to be very mindful of that, because especially when it comes to self-judgment, but even ego can play a big part in judging others, because you're thinking there's a very big difference between loving yourself and
loving yourself.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, because there's those two different ways of loving yourself. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And there's loving yourself as in elevating yourself above others.
Yes.
And there's loving yourself wholeheartedly for the being that you are here right now.
Yes. And so we have to be really mindful of, because ego can play a very big part in criticism and judgment. It really can give us as you said, that sense of being better, and we're all not. We're all the same. It doesn't matter where you are and in a job. I just love a great story that I've been aware of just in the last couple of days, and just watching unfold, where this person is in this job. The boss actually doesn't even walk in and speak to them of a morning, except when they feel like it, or just to give them work, and yet they sit beside each other. And the person that I'm actually talking about going through this, they've actually resigned because of it, because they really can't cope. And I can totally relate to that. I was in a job for over 20 years, and when I was asked, why did I resign? It was actually because I had a manager that couldn't even speak to me. Now, whether that's a lot of things I got back from HR was, oh, yeah, but, she's an introvert and she's this. Well, no, sorry. I'm a human and I deserve respect. And that really is where the criticism and judgment really comes right back to, isn't it? It's where we're all humans, and some are doing and some are being, but we all deserve the same respect.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a thing about you give respect that you're given and all of that sort of stuff. But what is actually being triggered in you to allow yourself to be really hypersensitive to something that someone says or does to you? And that's probably the big thing too, isn't it? It's about going back and looking, well, why did I react to that? What's my actions? What's my reactions?
And you've heard me say before, there is always, it doesn't matter whether it's a workplace or whether it's your home, whether it's your community groups, whether it's your friend circle, liken it to a school play, and there's always someone who got the arsehole role.
Yeah.
And
We do. Yes, you have told me about this before. We laugh about this frequently.
yeah, you know, someone had to be the bad guy. In every story, there's a hero.
Yes,
There's a
yes.
villain. There's, you know, there's
Yep.
all these different parts that are played. So
It's
someone has to play the
happening.
villain. And so if it, you know, in a workplace situation, that person that is not talking when they walk in, what exactly is their life like outside of work?
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. What's the trigger?
Pause before you judge and think, what's going on out there? And is it worth having just a conversation just to say, you know what, I really don't, I don't know what's going on for you, but I don't know that you're aware of it. But not speaking to me and the rest of us is probably not really really good for the team environment. And you know, is there something that we've done? Is there something that we can work on? Would a team building session be, you know, let's have a look at what we can, at how we can go about trying to rectify it, because the way that I see it now, we've got a great team. Like it's how you react.
Yes, and this person did actually confront the person about the boss about, you know, tried on many occasions to actually have that conversation, but was shut down every time.
So sometimes the pain level's just too huge. And
look, sometimes you just have to remove yourself from that situation.
Yeah, of course you do.
You just don't want to put yourself through
that's
that.
another choice. It's
Yeah,
you judge it. You judge it.
Yes.
You make the decision and you leave.
Yes. Yeah. You make that. That's right. And that's like a protection judgment. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to not leave myself in this situation anymore. And so I'm going to leave that. And I think a lot of people at the moment, like I don't know about you, Wendy, but I'm finding a lot of people around me are changing jobs or leaving jobs.
We move in different circles. I've got a lot of people around me that lost their jobs.
Right. Okay.
So let's, you know, you're in a different circle to me. A lot of people in my circle had their jobs ripped out from underneath them because they would not adhere to getting something that was being forced on them.
Right.
And so the emotions that I encounter are probably vastly different to the emotions that you encounter in your coaching space.
Yeah, totally. Well, as I said, most people I know that are reassessing in this new energy that we've got around us all right now, they're actually reassessing who they are, where they're going, what they're doing, and they're peeling back what's not working for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're not unfortunate enough where they have that choice taken away from them. They're fortunate enough to be able to make the choice for themselves.
Well, I wouldn't say it's fortunate. I'd say that they made the choice to have that as being their circumstances, but because it's again judgment. It's they were fortunate. These people aren't fortunate. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you know, and it's just it is what it is. It's and I can tell you that there's more that are realizing now that was it not being able to work at all worth doing something that I had to do to keep my job. And that's where we're at. So the people now that and I've done a lot of work with people over these last couple of years where they have lost their jobs have been ripped out from underneath them, and I've helped these people look at what else they had to offer and how they could pivot and how they could take control of their lives in a much better way, rather than that job being a determination of your value, which it is. I'm only worth this much money, and so I need to work in that space. That we've taken that judgment away, and we've worked for them to see the grander scheme of things. What value do they have, and how can they better, you know, what can they deliver to humanity in a very in looking at their life skills and what they're qualified to do, and moving into that where they're not being told what they have to do with their body sovereignty. They're not being told what to do. They're making a choice. I chose not to do that, but now I've got to do something. So I've got to have a look at what I've got on offer that I can do now. So,
Yeah, look, it's a very interesting time, and as we know, you're all going to have your own opinions out there, just like Wendy and I. We at different times have our own opinions, and that's
Okay.
it's not criticism. It is what it is, and that's who we are. We're human beings doing our own thing, doing what works for us. You know, making the choice, as Wendy mentioned in the first part of this podcast, was it's about our choices, the choices that we make, the actions that we have, our reactions towards certain situations. There's many people that in that same situation would have just stayed there in that job and just put up with it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has.
And that's all based on fear.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's about where we are, you know, and what's also happened in your childhood or in your previous part of your life. You know, as we know, have you been shamed into something and you just feel that you don't feel you're good enough to get another job somewhere else. And look, it's a bit like an octopus with many tentacles, really. When you actually, when we probably thought about this, we were like, oh yeah, this is a great topic to chat about today. But
it is, because it's like
it has so many tentacles to it.
It does. And what we said we weren't going to talk about, we've ended up talking about.
I know.
Because I sit in the space where we've worn a lot of judgment and criticism. So you know, and an exponential amount. I've lost a lot of friends, I've lost family, all because I made my choice to be totally sovereign to my body. If that's good or bad for you, I don't give a shit what's good or what, you know. I've made my decision based on what I need for me.
And I think that's a really important part, isn't it? It's about you not judging the choices of others, but doing what works best for you.
Do you know how many people told me that I was irresponsible, that I have I put people in danger, that there's all that stuff, all of it. And I'm not the only one. Like I said, I come from a whole group of that. And so when I sit and I'm in this conversation now, and, you know, we have to go into a little bit of, you know, because we've got so many people that are watching this or listening to this, we have to be really, really honest. It's not about going into damage control because I'm sitting here speaking about what I'm speaking about, or me going into damage control because you're speaking about what you're speaking about. There should be no damage control.
No, it's your opinion and it's mine. That's as simple as it gets.
Well, it's not even an opinion. It's just life. It's how I choose to live my life, how everyone else chooses to live theirs.
That's it. Yep.
And so, yeah, it's just, we are in those times where who would have thought that we would be sitting in this situation after, you know, this whole thing and you know, everything that's being brought to the surface now, and so many people are realizing that it's okay to have control of your own life. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is absolutely okay.
And just expanding on that a bit, judgment. Let's take judgment. We're focusing on judgment here, and it basically can be a huge reason as to why you may feel blocked out there, why you might even feel alone, why you actually feel that you can't move forward, because the judgment from someone else or yourself is actually making you feel frozen.
That's why we've had exponential suicides.
Yeah, which then I was going to say, then can move into
has done. Have a look at the levels,
you know,
of
anxiety, depression, and then, as Wendy mentioned, suicide. And anybody that is feeling in that state, if they're listening to this, please reach out. There's so many wonderful groups out there now, Black Dog, and Wendy helped me here, but there's so many other groups out there that if you need
Lifeline.
to speak to somebody, Lifeline, perfect.
The very first one is just, if you find yourself in that situation,
reach out. Don't do this alone. You don't need to do this alone, because
and there's a lot of groups that are, you know, if you're sitting where I know that in our community that there is a lot that don't feel that that's a place where they can go, that they can reach out. But there's other places. There's community hoodies helpers that has got counsellors and all those kinds of people that, you know, that are experts there. That's their genius, their zone of genius. You just need to reach out. You just need to, you know, and if you're stuck with finding somewhere, drop us a comment on, you know, and so we can direct you best into
That's exactly
where
right.
you can go.
We can actually provide some more individualized guidance as to where we suggest, because we're not experts in this space, but where we suggest for where we're experts around us, we're experts about what we've taught, what we know, but we're not experts in what's going on with you. So we can only guide you somewhere that you need to go if this is a trigger for you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But feeling insecure and unworthy is one of the hardest things to actually, it's a stealer of joy. You often talk about this with something else, Wendy. I can't remember the word that you use, but, you know.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, it is. And that's like judgment, criticism.
It is. We're weighing ourselves up against another yardstick, and we will always, always, always see ourselves as being short if we haven't done anything to help ourselves.
Fear, stress, worry.
Yeah.
When you think of all of those things and the state that they put you in, it's the absolute opposite to joy and happiness and laughter and being present. So you need to look at where you are, where you're at, what's going on with you, what's triggering you, what's not, and humbly look at yourself and go, well, maybe I need to make a change if that's where you are. And if you're not, get back on the wagon of, you know, being aware that sometimes you'll criticize yourself, sometimes you'll judge yourself, but get straight onto it and flip the coin on that immediately.
Yeah. And, you know, what we're about is being able to help you find your happy, help you find your way, what's your purpose.
Yes.
Help you heal your life is, you know, what the work that it is. But it actually, it's about getting that path and instilling really good daily habits for you to be able to experience being the best that you can be in this now moment. So
learning to love you for who you are and the journey that you're on is really important.
Absolutely it is. And if you want to listen to something that's really powerful, Learning to Love Yourself is on the Gaia album by Olivia Newton-John, and I can tell you it's probably one of the ones that like I use that a lot in my healing room. It's a beautiful album, but that particular song is absolutely just next level in learning. You know, you have to learn to love yourself.
Yes.
Warts and all.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. I think that's the beautiful part about this work. It is. It's accepting you for who you are.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. And it's really interesting. And I've, you know, Wendy and I have mentioned to you how long we've both been in this space. And it does take work. You've got to it's an inside job. You have to do it yourself. You have to learn to love yourself. I am in a space now, it's probably the best space, and I've been in this space for a long time. I every now and then might go into a little bit of a dip, and not too long ago I went into a bit of a dip, but I'm very good now at learning to get myself out of that dip as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. We're not saying love yourself and your life will be brilliant and nothing will ever be affected by it. No, we're not saying that. We're saying when you learn to love yourself, love becomes a very powerful tool around you, and it's the most amazing. Love is love. Like using your heart space to love things will totally change your life forever. And you have to see and look and feel and know differently before you can make a change in your life.
And you do. You have to accept responsibility for being here and wanting things to be different. I had a quote. I'm just going to try and find it now, which I thought was really pertinent to what you were just saying, was, you know, we're on such a mission to love ourselves, and yet we still care so much about what other people think, you know.
I know, right?
And that to me is really something that we all need to address.
Yep.
I can't find the jolly thing now.
And it's interesting, isn't it? I'll just keep chatting while you're looking for it to give you a bit of time to look for it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how look, it's the way we were programmed, basically. That's the reality of it. That was our program. From the minute we came into our families, they programmed us their way. And it's not a bad, like, I'm not saying, oh, damn them. I'm just saying that's the way it is. There's no judgment, there's no criticism. It's just the way it is. And from there, as Wendy actually mentioned all this earlier, you went to school, you went to work, blah, 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 blah. And in all those different places, we were reprogrammed in certain ways. When you go from one workplace to another, they'll have their own vision, their own goals and their own outcomes that they want to achieve. And so whether you know it or not, or realize it or not, you'll be slightly molded into the way they want you as well. And so that is just what it is. But it's what it all comes back to is you being the strongest version of yourself every single day to be able to maneuver and navigate whatever situation you're in. And okay, you're not always going to come out smelling roses, but you're probably going to be able to get out of the situation much quicker than you did 10 years ago. That is what I would say anyway. For me, I still get stuck in a hole because, I'm human. I'm a human doing sometimes, and I'm doing stuff and going right down into that hole. But I know how to get myself back out much quicker, much easier, and much, much kinder to myself. I treat myself with so much more respect now. And that includes saying no to others, saying no to criticism to others, for others, about you, for them, all of that. Being self-aware. Being self-aware. It's interesting. One of my children the other night told me that I wasn't very self-aware. But I would like to think that I'm way more self-aware than I was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. I think it's an ongoing journey where I'm continually learning it. And but did that comment stop me from thinking I'm self-aware? No, it didn't. And that wasn't my egotistical, because what it made me do is, I'm just conscious of that now. I'll look at that. I'll be more aware of that. And that situation, I realise that now affects her. I'll be more careful around that. As in, I understand she was very clear that that's not the way she likes it, or that it might affect her feelings, or and these are just examples. But I can now be more present with her and more aware of my reactions to her when it comes to criticism and judgment. And usually, very usually, how you deliver it.
Yeah, everything's in the delivery, because everything to do in life, good, bad, or ugly, is all about communication, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And I can't find that thing, so I'm not going to bother trying anymore. I could be there forever.
Yeah, well, like me, I was just rattling on forever, so you get that, don't you?
No, I was still listening. So it is. I mean, we are in a situation where there's such a focus on self-love and self-care and whatever, but and I've said this before, it's a delicate balance between making sure that we are not so focused on the self where we forget everyone else, because that's not what we're here for.
I usually call that the egotistical self.
Yeah, but there is and you see it,
and that's a judgment or a criticism, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's you focus so much on the self that you don't want to hear what other people have got to say, and your feelings are more important than other people's feelings, and all of that stuff. The one thing that we don't want is to have to. Ego is the only thing that takes offense. The ego takes offense.
And I used to have a pretty big ego.
And so to walk around on eggshells around anyone is just not conducive to having a peaceful life. But also we become so intent on that we don't give a shit what other people think, because we think we are so important. Yes. But in actual fact, that is not why we are here.
No, you keep saying it, there's a very fine line between all of that.
Yep. Yeah, there is.
It needs to be in balance. Aware and well, self-awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it all leads to one thing, and that's self-mastery.
Yes, because within self-mastery, you have all of that sits underneath it.
Yeah.
And if you are compassionate and kind and loving and you come from the heart space, a lot of that other stuff just drops away a lot more.
Oh, how many people try and change themselves just to be, to fit in with other people and to love, have other people accept them, when those people don't do the same. There's an old saying, why would why would you cross the ocean for someone when they won't even cross a puddle for you? I
haven't heard that before, but yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so that's where that whole self, that's where we are out of balance. That there is so much focus on what I'll do for myself, but I will not.
That's right.
It's got to be in balance.
It has.
I do my mirror work. I do my meditations. I do my yoga. I do my gratitude journal and my gratitude statements. I cook myself a healthy breakfast. I take care of my body. But at the end of the day, I don't do 1 ounce of that without considering my family, my animals, my home, my greater community. Everything is in balance. There is not one part of it that is selfish.
No. It's about being fully responsible for your feelings and those around you.
Yeah. And if I can
being present in your present, because if you're present, you're aware of your surroundings.
And if someone's day is brighter because I was in it,
yes,
then that's to know that I've served well.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
All right. Have you got an affirmation card there? And then we will hop off.
I do. Let me just pull one. Anyone here? Oh, look at this. Oh, this is a really nice one. I am connected to all of life. Can you actually see that?
Yeah. They're beautiful cards.
I am spirit, light, energy, vibration, colour and love. I am connected with every person on the planet and with all of life.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful, isn't it?
What a way to end today's episode.
I know. Thank you.
So don't forget to subscribe now that we
follow.
And especially now that we're so excited.
We're now on Spotify. Yay! Thanks to Wendy and all her efforts. Thank you, Wendy.
Oh, you're welcome. It's it's exciting stuff. So that now that we've got a greater presence out in the marketplace. But so if you like what want to hear a little bit more of us, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast.
Come hang with us. It's fun.
Whatever platform that you choose. You can see us in the flesh over on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Yes. You can connect with us on Facebook. You can join our Facebook group where you can have a more intimate dialogue with us, or you can follow us on Instagram and have a bit of a banter with us on there. But yeah, thank you for being in our space and
tell us what you want.
Yeah, life's about choices. On that note, I'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.